This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs, the Playbook. I am so excited to have Shan-Lyn Ma. She is the co-founder and CEO, and you know it, Zola. Huge company providing happiness all over the place. So you're part of my mission to empower over 1 billion people, Shan. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. What an honor to be here.
Well, Zola is aligned with weddings. And, I actually officiated a wedding during the pandemic, and it must have
Wow.
been rescheduled like 5 times. So I had to relive the stress of wedding planners, weddings, logistics. And it's one of the biggest days of my life. I've been married 23 years. And it was also, besides one of the biggest days, one of the most stressful days. And I'm an organized individual. For you, how did you, number one, just get started in understanding the critical business issues of the most emotional day, at least for the brides and most likely the grooms?
Yeah, so, I think like many entrepreneurs and founders before me, I first started thinking about and getting interested in just the idea of weddings and what goes into planning a wedding um, based on personal experience, which was all my friends getting married all in the same year, all at the same time. I think everyone has that year in their life where you go to a wedding every weekend and it feels like everyone's getting married. And I was going to a lot of weddings. I was buying a lot of gifts for my friends from their wedding registries and finding both the process of my friends planning their wedding as well as me as their guest to just be completely outdated and underserved by modern technology and tools. And so, as someone that has a background in building digital products and thinking about how do we make magical online and mobile experiences, I thought there has to be a better way. And so that was how I started. I thought the weddings industry is so stressful and expensive, like you said, but it's not one that's being touched by modern technology. And so we have to get it there.
And when you first left the technology world to start the company, you had some great changes that were happening, and technology has only accelerated those changes, especially through now the pandemic, which completely changed the face of how we get married and why we get married and who we get married to and all the different issues. How and what similarities are there from the beginning where you had these extraordinary changes because no one had looked at weddings this way, to the pandemic where everybody had to look at weddings in a different way? Where are the parallels and the differences between the two times?
So I think what has been very consistent and is similar to both when we started Zola in 2013 as well as today, post pandemic, is that couples really don't want to use 20 different apps or products or services to plan one wedding day. I think it doesn't make sense. If you're planning one day, you should plan it in one spot. And so at Zola, we are really focused on how do we be that one-stop shop to plan your entire wedding all in one seamless, easy, magical place. And how can we serve the couple throughout their entire wedding planning journey, which on average takes 18 months to plan one day. So that has not changed in that couples want to go to one place. What has changed and accelerated is the thought or the need that you have to go and physically see things or touch and feel things or take into consideration people that might want to go to a physical store. So just for example, we have many products that we offer couples, one of which is a wedding registry where couples can register for products and experiences and cash all on Zola. And in the early days, we used to hear people think, oh, I want to register all online, but maybe my grandparents want to go to a physical store to buy me a gift. Now, post-pandemic, that is definitely not the case. People are like, please let my grandparents and aunts and uncles just buy online because that's safer. And in fact, during the pandemic, we only saw that accelerate. Another example is similarly when people are picking out their save the dates or invitations, which you can customize and print on Zola. It used to be people would think, do I need to go to a store and touch and feel the paper before I pick it out? And what we started doing was just sending samples, so you could print a proof of your save the date or invitation before you printed it, and you didn't have to go somewhere to touch hundreds of pieces of paper. And that behavior has now just accelerated, where people want to design everything from their homes, receive samples and proofs to their home, pull the trigger, and then get it shipped to either their homes or their guests. So all these things that I think people used to do in the physical world that required a lot of time have now just accelerated to be online or mobile behaviors, where people find it actually easier and convenient and less stressful to do it all through our app.
Yeah, it was interesting because I was building a home and getting married, and I talked about decision exhaustion, that I felt like I was making so many decisions in my day. And after I learned about Zola and I've watched you grow over the last 7 or 8 years, it was interesting because it wasn't the decisions, it was the time that it took to get to a decision. Meaning, I had to go to a certain location and look at it and tour it and then taste cake and then,
Yes.
and things were so outside my expertise. And if anyone's married out there, I have 3 daughters as well. What do you think of these shoes? Well, if I knew anything about shoes, I'd design them. It doesn't matter what I think about your shoes, because when you walk into a room, everyone else is not looking at you going, oh, look at her shoes. They're going, I wonder if people like my shoes. So if you like your shoes, more people like your shoes. I felt that way about the wedding. And I think that Zola does a great job of building a core, right? This core opportunity or time savings efficiency that allows people who really want to go down the worms hole and have extreme detail are completely satisfied. But there are some people in the world like me that just want your bride to be happy, your mom to be happy, your family to be happy. And if they're happy, I don't have to spend a million years and a ton of money to worry about what I want. And that was really a big thing I saw about Zola. But it seems like you have these core philosophies that run throughout the business, but also help people have a core, to make those decisions and pick and choose what options and opportunities they want within this big decision they're going to make.
Yeah, absolutely. And the example that you just gave is 100% what we see and what we're seeing more of, which is one of the biggest decisions you make when you're planning the wedding, which is also one of the most expensive decisions that you make, is where's my venue going to be for the wedding? Where do I want to have it? And that's typically the biggest cost of the wedding. And so before Zola and before our kind of vendor discovery platform, you would have to call up and make appointments individually with as many venues as you wanted or had time to go visit physically. And then maybe you have to bring someone else or bring family or whoever it is. When this is something where you can save a lot of time by watching videos online. And so through Zola, what we see the behavior now is people will come to look at all our different venues, filter by their budget, by their date preference, by their style preference, and then watch the videos of maybe as many venues as they're considering, then only kind of pick to book a very narrow short list of venues that they might want to see. Or they can send the videos out to their partner or their family to also give a second opinion before anyone's even booked the time. And so that kind of time saving and like pre-qualification that the couple is doing is just helping take, I think, a lot of time and stress out of the process, which actually helps everyone involved, both the venues and the couples. And so one that we're very proud to push the envelope on and continue to provide more of these video-like interactive experiences where you really get the sense of a place without having to go there, particularly during times like this.
Yeah, it's amazing how you do that too. And that was, for me, one of the biggest values I wish was around way back in the 90s when I got married. It would have been so nice, just the date alone. If I could have filtered just by the date of availability and not have to waste my time showing up. But more importantly, your parallel of chasing dreams, which I think is so imperative of looking at this, because everyone, when they're getting married, is chasing a dream. And we've been socialized in so many different ways, from where we came from the childhood stories we were told. We all have a dream about our wedding. Everyone does. And you also, as a female entrepreneur, are chasing a dream. And somehow people are capable of materializing their dreams about the biggest day of their life, their wedding, or their biggest accomplishments, or their jobs, or I call it activity we get paid for, business partners, doing due diligence not only on the company that allows people to chase their dreams in an efficient, effective, and statistically successful way. You've been able, in the same way, to chase your dreams as an entrepreneur, as a founder, CEO, and leader, and be able to materialize even your business partner, I think, is something that you were chasing. How have you learned to chase your dreams and materialize them? And how have you applied that to Zola to allow brides and grooms to do the same?
So on a personal level, I always had big dreams of being an entrepreneur, and I'm not sure where, well, I think those dreams came from reading a lot of business magazines like Entrepreneur, and reading about inspiring people. And I didn't actually know anyone who had started a company or done what I'm now doing. So I thought the only way to get there is to get started working towards that general direction. And for me, that meant a lot of hard work in many different jobs to kind of build a pathway to ultimately getting myself to Silicon Valley, to then ultimately getting myself to be exposed to people that I could one day build a technology company and a consumer internet company with. And so just as an example, like some of my early jobs, I would do anything to earn money, as it's the same with so many people in the country and in the world. I, at the same time, was a pizza waitress. I worked in a call center. I taught high school students, and all of this was with the dream of building experience, building exposure to different smart people, and of course, supporting myself financially. And with each job, I thought the main thing I'm getting out of this job, apart from, of course, the salary, is the learning, and learning specifically from great people, where I can take those skills and build upon them. And so when ultimately the way that Zola happened and came together with my co-founder and earliest investors and earliest team members was really because I worked my butt off, quite frankly, with so many of these people in past jobs, that I had proven myself to them, and that they also knew what it was like to work with me and knew that I would put 100% into this, that we both picked each other again. And so through that shared experience and that kind of conscious reselection of working with each other, that was, I think, a key part of Zola's success in the early days. Now, with Zola, I think that building the trust and the relationship, our success is all built upon how can we do that with our couples and our vendors and really our end users. And so it's from day one, it was brick by brick or user by user. How do we prove with each person that comes to Zola that we will go above and beyond for them to give them the best experience, listen to their feedback, improve it for future users. And that, I think, has always been my opinion on how to build a great long-term business.
You're one of those entrepreneurs that if you connected the dots backwards, number one, you probably wouldn't move forward and go, I'd never do that again. But more importantly, the dots that have connected you could, surpass the dreams that you have. Usually people who have accelerated those dreams, and I always say, ask big, think big, dream big. We can't dream or think or ask big enough. Have certain personal mantras or values or practices that have allowed them to grow, to build, to accelerate to $1 billion company, to bigger than they ever dreamed of. And the odds were against you. right? The way that you look, the way that you grew up, the odds were against you, but yet you managed to manifest and to exceed all expectations, probably of even yourself. Were there any self-made mantras or anything that drove you that you could share with us as a final inspirational, meaningful quote or activity that people can take to heart and say, I'm going to wake up just like Shan and give myself this dose of inspiration? Any of those mantras that carried you through this extraordinary path?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite questions to ask myself is, how can this idea be bigger? And just an example of how that question or mantra has helped shape Zola over the years and really built the company to a much bigger company than we ever imagined day one is, day one, we started with the idea of what if we built the world's best wedding registry? Because wedding registries are a huge market. There's a huge pain point for couples and their guests. So if we solve this, it's going to be a great company. And then asking ourselves, well, how can this idea be bigger? We asked both ourselves and our couples, and the answer very clearly was, well, we should expand the vision to be serving the entire wedding planning journey. So not just registries, but from that first day you get engaged, you need to look for a venue, you need to find a photographer, through registry, invitations, albums, etc. And so now we're an entire wedding planning company. And again, we ask ourselves, well, how can this idea be bigger? And what are we hearing from our couples and customers that suggests how it can be bigger? And the answer is, well, we can really be the company that serves couples not just through the wedding planning journey, but into their first years of newlywed life. And we see this in the behavior on Zola. We see lots of opportunity of couples that move into their newlywed home together and come back to buy from our store, or plan their financial services, or print photo albums of their beautiful wedding photos. And so all these opportunities then open up when we ask ourselves this question. And as we've kind of followed the answers of this question, we've just, I think it's expanded the scope of what Zola could be. And it's just always exciting when we push ourselves even further than we thought we could go.
Yeah, and people like you that are more interested than interesting and dream bigger than the rest of us and can manifest and materialize what we dream, like you have, are milestones. I have 3 daughters, and I want them all to watch this to see what you've been able to create and manifest in your life by believing in yourself and dreaming big. I will tell you that I think about, huge things that I wish were around when I was younger. One, of course, would be a cell phone. I wasted so much time waiting and trying to find people. 2 would be Uber. That would be amazing. But I think after learning so much about Zola, I would have loved to have Zola. I mean, the only advice I was given when I got married was eat before the ceremony. You'll thank me later.
Good advice.
It was good advice, but it didn't save me. I probably spent $1 million of my time on the wedding. It didn't cost me $1 million, but with the amount of time, stress, worry, all the things that Zola solves for me, I could have saved $1 million. I could be your poster child for the economic ROI of Zola. And fortunately, the greatest decision of my life has been to marry my wife. And it would have made it a lot easier for that special day if I had Zola. So thank you so much, because I know now that all 3 of my daughters are not going to have to live through what I did. Just like they get Uber and cell phones, they now get Zola. What a treat. I appreciate you so much for all your dreams that have come true for all of us. And anyone that's been married, I know you're shaking your head yes. Shan, thank you so much. Co-founder and CEO of Zola. Check them out. An extraordinary playbook to success.